Oh gosh, where do I start on this one, you guys? Welcome to my monthly YouTube video, and today I'm just checking in about things in general and how I've been using DBT in my life in quite a major way. And while my particular situation may not be completely relatable in terms of what I'm facing, I'm hoping that you will be able to apply it to your own life in some way, shape, or form with something you may be dealing with, or perhaps you know someone who's going through something similar and you may be able to pass along this recording to encourage them and help them in some way. So some of you know, and this, if you guys have any sensitivity right now to topics related to medical issues and things of that nature, this is a trigger warning that there will be some frank discussion of that. So if you're feeling particularly sensitive about those types of topics and you don't want to hear about that kind of stuff and so on, this may not be the best time for you to listen to this recording. Maybe you want to hold off and listen to it at a time when you're feeling a bit stronger and less easily triggered by those sorts of things would be my suggestion. But use your own discretion in what works for you, and we'll go from there. So I've recently been dealing with some physical issues that have been kind of scary. They seem to come out of nowhere, although I know that's not entirely true, as I've shared in recent blog posts, and I will share in future blog posts about how things unfolded. But the scary thing is I've had to undergo a lot of medical treatments and invasive tests and things that have been very difficult to cope with in terms of, when we are afraid or when we are uncertain about something, we can get really anxious, right? Well, the particular symptoms I'm dealing with affect the central nervous system, so it's important that I don't actually get that part of me, triggered too much and upset and nervous, because it can affect my recovery on a physical level, which is the case with a lot of physical things that people face, and especially true in this particular case. So I have been utilizing the DBT skills that I often talk about and that I teach at DBT Path with Alicia. And I have to say that one of the most encouraging things is that people in my life who have known me, especially people who have known me for many years, I'm talking like a decade or so, have actually commented that they have seen or have been impressed with my ability to handle really difficult, quite scary information and potential information regarding my medical status and potential diagnosis. And I have to agree, it's almost eerie, the sense of calm that I have around really being able to embrace and accept whatever it is that I'm possibly facing. I'm not going to say that I'm not human and that I don't have moments of feeling scared or really vulnerable or worried about what could be going on, but I will say that I do have a steady sense of calm, a kind of a feeling of acceptance that really I've learned in DBT, especially through the mindfulness of it is what it is, and me fighting and resisting and working at my body and getting myself stressed out and potentially, making myself sick over it is not going to help, is not going to reverse whatever the diagnosis might be, whatever the news is I'm going to get in a few weeks when all of my test results come back and the neurologist has a chance to review all of the information and come to a conclusion. Nothing that I do that upsets myself is going to help that situation one iota, and it's not going to be very helpful to the people around me who are worried and concerned and trying to be supportive, and they're very, very worried, and I think they are still looking that I'm the one that's the calmest and able to go into wise mind and be very rational, because they're scared. They love me and they don't want to see me suffering. They don't want to think of me as someone, as potentially having a long-term chronic illness, etc., etc. But and neither do I. I mean, who wants that? Nobody wants that. At the same time, I'm looking realistically. I'm looking at the facts. I'm going into wise mind. I'm going into my logic, and I'm looking at the probability based on, all of my symptoms and all of my test results and all of the conversations I've had with my neurologist, who is very open with me about what he suspects this is. And I've begun to prepare to be able to handle that news as well as to handle not hearing that news. I don't know how calm I will be if it is something other than what I expect, or if it is something that produces, symptoms that are scarier than the ones I've already experienced. I don't know how I'll behave in that instance, or, how I'll handle it effectively or skillfully at that point. But the great thing about mindfulness is we're reminded we don't have to project into the future and worry about how we're going to handle something in 3 weeks, or even in 3 hours, or even in 3 minutes from now. And that's something that has been getting me through, is really staying as much as I can in the present moment. Even when other people, well-meaning people, start to ask, well, what if this happens? Or what are the potential things that can happen in the future if you have this disorder, or if you have this? Well, I'm right now not even formally diagnosed. Let's go step by step. And then once I get a diagnosis, I can get on a treatment plan, and then I can, look at what potential symptoms could come up and how to manage them. Now, this is quite different than how I imagine I would have been able to, quote unquote, handle something like this, let's say 2-3 years ago, before I started DBT, when I was highly symptomatic with borderline personality disorder. I was literally in and out of the emergency room, having suicidal thoughts, being very emotionally unstable, unable to tolerate being alone, unable to keep a job, unable to maintain close relationships, and no real sense of identity. My life was very, very unstable because of all of those symptoms being so intense and so strong. I'm so fortunate, blessed, thankful, grateful that life afforded me the opportunity to take these skills. And if I have to face this thing in this life right now, I am even more grateful that I already have DBT under my belt as a way to cope, because these skills can be used to cope with any type of emotion dysregulation, any type of distress, any type of upsetting type of situations that life throws at us. And I feel that the proof is in the pudding at this point, because I've been able to use these skills to manage, minor day-to-day things and even more intense emotional crises. But this is like a doozy of a situation. I mean, a real serious thing. And yet I'm remaining, for the most part, very calm, level-headed, able to switch into wise mind, able to allow myself to have compassion for the part that sometimes just needs to cry and be afraid and, have those what if moments, because I think that's all a part of the human experience, and I don't want to suppress that. But there is no freaking out. I would say I do sometimes get anxious or have a panic attack. Sometimes because of the certain symptoms that show up in my body, I get triggered into having anxiety. For the most part, I've been able to manage that with the skills as well. It's been highly recommended that I take something for that, but I have made the choice to avoid doing so unless it's absolutely necessary. If I've tried all my skills and I'm at the point, and those of you who have severe anxiety and panic will know exactly what I'm talking about right now. But if I'm at the point where I'm hyperventilating to the point where my hands are doing the claw, and that's when you can't move them because you are so anxious, then I might decide to take the prescription drug. Until then, I am just using the skills, and I've only had to take that extra pill twice, and that was once at the day that I went to the emergency room for my first IV infusion, and then today, an hour before the lumbar puncture exam, the neurologist had recommended actually that I take that to help, and I'm sure that did actually help when it kicked in, because I was extremely anxious about that procedure. which I'm recovering from right now. I'm actually lying down, speaking into my laptop, recording this for you. I've been on bed rest for the last 6 to 8 hours, catching up on TiVo, on the women's figure skating, on the Olympics. So no spoilers for me, please, because I still don't know who won and I want to enjoy this. I've been using the women's figure, well, actually I watched the men's program, the dance program. I've been using these as self-soothing through vision and sound, and also as distract. And these are skills that we can use when we are in a distressing situation and there's nothing we can do in the immediate moment to resolve the issue or to solve it. So we look to these skills to help us to cope effectively with the distress so that we don't make matters worse, so that we don't do old behaviors until the time passes and we're able to do something proactive is basically what's going on. So I have been utilizing these skills in this way. I have been finding it incredibly helpful. I've been continuing to go to work. I find work to be extremely therapeutic. For those of you who don't know, I co-facilitate online DBT classes at dbtpath.com. And it is the highlight of my day, and it is what keeps me going when I'm feeling, like, no matter how I feel, I look forward to showing up, no matter how I feel personally. In the past year, I have only missed 2 groups out of the whole year, and both of them were in this past couple of weeks and related to this medical episode. So I'm very committed and passionate. And I look forward to easing back into work, hopefully tomorrow, starting with some email responses and so on. So, so that's what's been going on with me, just utilizing the DBT skills, I would say on a grand scale for a major life event. I feel proud that I am, walking the talk with these skills in a way that is beyond just, day-to-day coping and survival, but with something that in my life and in my situation is a pretty huge thing. And so I think that just speaks to the effectiveness and how much these things can actually help, these skills, if we learn them and apply them, and all the practice that we get ahead of time of, something larger possibly happening in our lives at some point, I think helps us to build up resilience and an ability to handle that situation that much more effectively. At least that's what I'm definitely seeing in my own situation. So thank you for spending some time with me right now. I look forward to connecting with you this week on healingfrombpd.org and the related social media pages, the Facebook, the Twitter, and I'm also on Facebook under Debbie Corso. I do accept friend requests if you want to connect on there. I'm happy to connect with you and get to know you that way. And I look forward to the next time we connect in any way on this beautiful virtual web that we have. Talk to you soon. Thanks for listening. Bye for now.